This city seemed completely ordinary. Quiet streets, beautiful houses, and every evening, everything went exactly according to routine. Maloney slowed down her bicycle. When she turned to look back at them, it was simply smiling motionless. Because, for the first time, she felt as though someone was watching her. In the upper floor window, heavily, her breath caught in her throat for a moment. A strange face was visible. Milo finally understood. In the silence of the night, the wind, too, seemed to be whispering an eerie message. Every tree, every shadow, echoed the same warning. Go back. Yet, a burning anguish emanating from the Haveling seemed to be waiting to beckon someone inside. Someone was standing on the other side of the window, and this time, they had spotted Milo. Finally understood. This was no ordinary house. Milo slowly raised his gaze, and his blood ran cold. Reflected in his eyes was that very same grinning face. But how was this possible? Despite the house having so few doors, how had that face appeared within his own eyes? Milo now realized that he hadn't merely seen the house. Icy gust of wind struck Milo, and a searing pain shot through his eyes, an agony beyond measure. Malo's gaze suddenly fixed upon her own eyes, and in an instant, her face turned pale. A strange smile was emerging from within her eyes. It was as if it didn't belong to her, as though some unknown spirit was peering out from behind her eyes. The air suddenly grew colder, and the silence filling the room felt even heavier. Milo realized that the darkness of the Haveling was not merely on the walls, but had drawn right up close to her, and without a sound. Fear made its first move. The air felt different that night, so cold, as if all the warmth of life had drained away. As soon as Maloney glanced toward the old mansion, her heart skipped a beat amidst the lingering echoes of past sorrows. The darkness felt terrifyingly alive. Suddenly, the wind picked up. Dry leaves began to swirl around her, and she felt as though someone was silently watching her. Maloney slowly raised her eyes. But what she saw made it impossible to retreat, because there was someone in our mansion. Milo thought it was just an old deserted mansion. He had no idea that someone was watching him. As soon as he stopped his bicycle, a strange whisper echoed in the air. A faint voice brushed right past his ear. Malo's heart began to pound. He turned around to look, but there was no one there. Just then, in one of the mansion's windows, a sinister face slowly came into view, and a terrifying smile played upon its lips. Milo realized this was not merely a mansion, but a place from which no one ever returned. As soon as Milo raised her head, her breath hitched for a moment before her. In the midst of a dense, desolate forest, stood an old and terrifying mansion. A faint light flickered in just one of the mansion's windows. As if someone were watching from the darkness, the wind began to pick up, and the branches of the dry trees started making an eerie sound. Malo's heart pounded faster with every step she took. A voice within her whispered, "Go back." But her curiosity was stronger than her fear, and then Malo took her first step toward the mansion, unaware that her life would never be the same again. As soon as Malo raised her head, her breath caught in her throat for a moment. Before her, amidst a dense, desolate forest, stood an old and menacing mansion. A faint light flickered in just one of the mansion's windows. As if someone were watching from the darkness, the wind began to pick up, and the branches of the withered trees started making a strange, unsettling sound. With every step Malu took, her heart pounded faster. A voice within her whispered, "Turn back." But her curiosity was stronger than her fear. And then, Malu took her first step toward the mansion, unaware that her life would never be the same again. Malu slowly entered our room, and the light from his torch fell upon a large wardrobe. Inside the wardrobe, old teddy bears, broken dolls, and rusty toys sat in silence, staring right at him. The smiles frozen on their faces were so uncanny. It was as if they were alive. The room had been sealed for years, yet the presence of someone or something was clearly palpable. Malu took another step forward, when suddenly, the head of one of the dolls slowly turned toward him. The torch nearly slipped from Malu's hand, and his breathing quickened. It became clear that the secrets of this mansion went far beyond what we had imagined. Every single toy here harbored a terrifying story of its own. And then, the very thing Malu feared most happened. He slowly turned to look, and was struck dumb with terror out of the thick darkness. A pitch-black figure was emerging. Its gleaming smile and dark eyes looked nothing like those of a human. The air suddenly turned ice cold, and the old mansion was plunged into an eerie silence. Malu's throat went dry, his hands began to tremble, yet his feet remained rooted to the spot. Slowly, with every step, it was drawing closer to Malu, and our friend Malu realized that entering this mansion had been the biggest mistake of our lives. As soon as Malu turned around, his blood ran cold. The same old toys which had been lying completely lifeless just moments ago were now rushing toward him. The eye of a broken doll gleamed with a blue light, and an old teddy bear drew closer with every step. From the darkness behind, a pitch-black figure emerged, wearing a terrifying grin, slowly pulling everything toward itself. The entire room began to shake, and chunks of plaster and wood crumbled from the walls, crashing to the floor. Malu tried to flee in a desperate panic, but with every step he took, the entities behind him seemed to gain speed. He realized then that escaping the mansion would be no easy task. And then, a laugh rang out from the darkness, a laugh that shook the very foundations of the mansion. Milo, fleeing in sheer terror, reached the farthest door of the mansion. He tried to open the door with trembling hands, but it wouldn't budge. With every passing moment, the sound of approaching footsteps grew closer. Amidst the mist, those terrifying figures slowly began to encircle Milo. Their glowing eyes looked even more menacing in the darkness. Milo shoved the door with all his might once more, but again, it refused to open. It was evident on his face that every avenue of escape was now closed off. And then, right in front of him, came the sound of a cold, chilling breath. Milo slowly turned his head, and what he saw shook him to his very soul. Suddenly, there was a loud crash, and the old wooden door shattered into pieces. Malu didn't waste a single moment, and fled the mansion with desperate strength. And behind him, that terrifying mansion stood in the darkness, as if it wanted to speak once more. In the cold moonlight, a window of the mansion suddenly gleamed, and to our horror, that ghastly smile appeared again. Milo didn't look back even once. He just kept running, as fast as his legs could carry him. But he didn't know that some things do not stay confined within the mansion. Sometimes, that darkness follows its prey out into the open. And that night, Malu wasn't just fleeing the mansion, but a secret, one that was destined to haunt him for the rest of his life. Malu stopped. His breathing was so rapid, as if his heart might burst right out of his chest. He took a deep breath, and for the first time, it truly sank in that he had managed to escape the haunted mansion. But when he slowly turned back to look, the mansion was still standing right there in the moonlight. Something was gleaming, like the sparkle in someone's eyes. Everything was utterly silent, so silent that the sound of his own heartbeat was clearly audible. Malu composed himself and decided to leave that place forever, but he had no idea that the story of the night was far from over, for there are certain terrifying secrets that once witnessed never let you go. Milo had moved quite a distance away from the Haveli, yet the dread in his heart had not subsided. He turned around slowly to look back one last time, and in that moment, amidst the dilapidated ruins of the Haveli, a face emerged. Its eyes and the space around them were glowing with an eerie light, and a terrifying smile played upon its lips. It seemed as though it was laughing at Malo's escape. A chilling cold once again swept through the air, and the forest fell into absolute silence. After that night, no one ever saw Malo go near our Haveli again. But they say, on every full moon night, that smiling face can still be seen within the Haveli's crumbling walls, and whoever catches a glimpse of that smile is never the same again.
Like and subscribe YouTube family.